All right, welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Clyde Sukeforth Chapter of SABR. I am Bruce McClure, the chapter chair, and we always hold our meetings in conjunction with the Gardner Waterman Chapter of SABR in Vermont, Dr. Clayton Truder, chair. Now, why don't we just get right into this? Ready? Here we go. It's time for baseball's last frontier. Stories from the Pecos League, the podcast that will open your door to baseball's entry level, telling you the stories of the teams, players, and coaches of an independent minor league circuit. I'm your host, Bruce McClure. No, I'm not. And I have the pleasure of introducing to you my friend, partner, and co-host, and man on the inside, Evan Katz. Evan, how did I do?
Oh, that was perfect, Bruce. You did it by heart. If I'd known about Andy in California, he could have been our man on the West Coast.
That's right. I want to introduce tonight our special guest. SABR member Andy Tuetken is a Rhode Island-based author, history teacher, professional baseball player, and coach known for writing books on Rhode Island baseball and UMass Athletics. He is the author of the book Murals of McCoy that he presented to us on SABR Day a couple of years ago. And he is here tonight along with SABR member Evan Katz, whose baseball pro career began at age, get this, 61, when he pitched for the White Sands Pupfish of the Pecos League in 2017. When euphoria subsided and his infinity ERA began to sting, Evan returned to the Pecos League at age 67. With the Austin Weirdos, he became one of the oldest pitchers to start a minor league game and lowered his ERA to 29.25. After an aborted stint as a pitching coach with the Roswell Invaders in 2024, Evan returned to the Pecos League in 2025 as bullpen coach of the North Platte 80s. Evan also hosts the website Baseball by the Sea Media, which includes SABR biographies and game stories, plus links to the two-season podcast co-hosted with me, Baseball's Last Frontier, Stories from the Pecos League. Guys, can't thank you enough for doing this. How's everybody?
Yeah,
Doing
thanks for
great.
having me. This is going to be a great time.
So, ironically enough, I'm the only guy that's running this thing tonight that's never seen a Pecos League game in person, for crying out loud. I've worked this podcast for 2 years with Evan out of this very office in New London, New Hampshire. Don't blink driving through, you'll miss it. But Evan and Andy were on the inside of this league, and it's a really fascinating league. And I'm going to start with Evan. Evan, give us a overview or a flavor of the Pecos League and how you got involved with it.
Well, you really encapsulated it, Bruce. I had a dream of pitching in professional baseball, and I was lucky enough to make that connection with Andrew Dunn, the league's commissioner. He's been the league's commissioner since the league was formed in 2011. He let me pitch at age 61. When I told him I was frustrated about pitching and having an ERA of infinity, he let me pitch again and at the age of 67 against the Alpine Cowboys in Alpine, Texas. And I was just so taken aback by the league because it's as we'll hear a little bit later, it's for shining stars, shooting stars, and athletes with stars in their eyes. And I'm a little bit of both. I was a shooting star and I had stars in my eyes. And I asked Andrew about coaching, and I was able to work in Roswell last year. Unfortunately, I had to leave early because my mother-in-law got really sick. And this year I hooked up with the North Platte 80s thanks to Todd Everleth, the manager. I connected with him and he said, Evan, you don't have a lot of baseball experience, but you've got enough experience and the right approach. And so he made me the bullpen coach in North Platte.
So I was remiss in our traditional format, and I forgot to ask this question. Where in the world is Evan Katz tonight?
Well, I'll just say my wife has known me for my entire baseball life, and I always mention to her that all roads lead to baseball. I'm in
That is true.
Siloam Springs, Arkansas. This is the ninth state that I've been connected by Zoom to Bruce
It's true.
with. And Siloam Springs, for fans of the Boston Braves, is the birthplace of Ray Powell, one of their starting outfielders in the mid 19s, over 100 years ago. And just up the road, Red Sox fans, Gene Stevens, outfielder from the 1950s, was born in Hiwassee, Arkansas. He's listed now as being from Gravette, but it's only because Hiwassee didn't have a high school and he graduated from Gravette High School. So I am in the western border area to Oklahoma in Arkansas right now.
All right. So speaking of Red Sox fans, I want to flip over to Andy for just a second. Andy, I got to ask the question. You're in Rhode Island. How in the world did you get hooked up with the Pecos League?
Well, first, thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this. I love talking about Pecos League baseball, but it actually started in New Mexico. My wife and my two daughters, we have this goal of going to all 50 states together. And one of the states we're at 49 now. We're going to have 50 this summer when we go to Hawaii. But we were driving through New Mexico, and I happened to see a Roswell Invaders sign, and I saw a Pecos League label. Yeah, I saw a Pecos League label, and I said, I looked over at my wife, and I said, remind me to look that up. And we both completely forgot. And about a month and a half later is when I actually was like, oh man, what was that league I wanted to look up? So I just looked up baseball in New Mexico, and that took me to Roswell. And that's when a little bit of research just led me to realize that the Pecos League, kind of like what Evan was saying, it took me to places I never thought I'd go, but it was amazing. So it was on a road trip with my family in Roswell, New Mexico.
That's funny. That's a good story. That's a good story to kick it off. Yeah. Evan, do you want me to have Molly start the slideshow?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's get some of the Pecos League basics in place here.
All right, Molly, you're on. Flip that slideshow on, and we're going to get started with that. Gus Cam is going to have to go off for a little bit. I'm sorry to say. So if you are here for Gus, then I'm sorry. All right. So it's the 15th anniversary of the league this year. It's an interesting little circuit that I'm just going to step aside and have Evan and Andy discuss a little bit about it and the basics behind it. Go ahead, guys.
You want to advance the slide, Bruce, to the history slide?
So go ahead and just say next slide when you're ready, Evan.
Okay. As I mentioned, 15 years. The original geography was the Pecos River Valley from the northern border of New Mexico to Texas. It's grown north, south, east, and west from 6 to 16 teams. The commissioner, as I mentioned, is Andrew Dunn. He was involved in, I think, the Continental Baseball League prior to the Pecos League, according to the AI research that I did. The team now has spread to California and Missouri and Nebraska and Texas in all directions. In 2021, where Andy was, they created the All California Pacific Division. I believe the Pecos League absorbed some of the Pacific Association teams that were left. There was one in Sonoma that's ultimately moved. But in 2024, the Pacific Division had 6 teams, and Andy got to drive to all of those, and his commutes were a lot shorter than mine. And then the Mountain North and Mountain South divisions are in the Mountain Division of the Pecos League. Next slide, please. Here's the map. So, Andy, why don't you just acquaint people with the geography briefly with the Pacific Division? Because I think I can talk all about the thousands of miles that I drove. How many miles did you drive anyway?
Certainly not as many as you. The Pacific Division, 6 teams, as you see there, and the amazing thing, and I was, I'd seen the Mountain Division, and I was always curious. I think I asked Evan when we talked last time, and I said, "What was your shortest trip?" And I think it was like 3 or 4 hours. And for me, I had there were 3 destinations: Vallejo, San Rafael, Martinez, and Dublin, that were all within 45 minutes of each other. So it kind of had like a much different feel to it. Monterey was about 2.5 hours. Beautiful stadium, right? Honestly, only a few hundred yards away from the Pacific Ocean. And the only drive we had would be down to Bakersfield, which I've experienced heat before, but that was something else. But much different than what the Mountain Division was. All the teams being basically around San Francisco. And you are correct. A handful of these teams were from the Pacific Association, including Martinez, which went from the Clippers to the Sturgeon.
Did you stay over when you had those short rides? So you wouldn't stay overnight. Would you go back to your host family?
So yes, actually the only place we stayed overnight was Bakersfield. For the 2.5-hour commute to Monterey, we would drive there and back. And how the schedule ended up unfolding was typically we drive to Bakersfield, go to Monterey for a game on the way back to the San Francisco area.
Yeah, that's a real trick the commissioner has, as I call the rubber band road trip, where he'll send the teams to its remotest point, and to help on the commute on the way back, he'll have a team stop for one game in a city and then advance to keep the trip from being too much in one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Although when I you just look at the map on the screen currently, and I cannot imagine what your trips were like.
Well, it's the mileage. We did some calculations. We drove about 6,800 miles. We're up in North Platte in the north central Nebraska there. We played primarily Trinidad, Garden City, Iola, Kansas, one game in Kansas City, Blackwell, Oklahoma. We had a couple games in Santa Fe. But I believe the median trip was 209, or maybe 390 miles, something like that. Garden City was the closest. You can see Garden City was a straight shot down from North Platte, 240 miles. Why don't we go on to the next slide? Here's the first part of what makes the Pecos League unique. There's no designated hitter, and you're going to see why in a minute. The ballpark dimensions, I got a little code there. In Santa Fe, it's about 250 feet down the right field line and about 300 feet to center field. They just erected a 40-foot fence in right field to keep the ball in play. Blackwell, it's 350 feet, all dimensions around the field. In Garden City, again, it's way less than 300 feet to right field, and I think maybe a little over 300 to center field. So you take that and you put in the fact that the Mountain Division, Trinidad is about 6,000 feet. Santa Fe is a mile high. The average is 4,800 feet. When you have no designated hitter, you have small ballparks, and you have high altitude, you have a high offense league. ERA average is about 7.25. Team batting averages are 300. Team OPS is about 800. And teams score 10 runs a game, and that's 10 runs a game each. So it is very demanding on the pitchers. You can fall behind by 4 runs in the first inning and say, that's not a big deal at all. 4 runs, that's nothing. So it makes for long games and exciting games.
I want to ask a question regarding the offense. I already know the answer to the question, but I'm going to put it out to both Evan and Andy. Can you tell me a wild or big comeback that you remember from your time playing in the league?
Go ahead, Andy.
Go first. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually my third game, and we're in San Rafael, who they're basically the New York Yankees of the Pacific Division. They represented the Pacific Division in the championship again this year. We were up 9 in the 8th inning, and it was funny. Our manager, Matthew Replinger, who's just a great baseball mind, he looked at me. He said, "This is the Pecos League. You're going to learn that 9 runs late in the game, especially on the road where pitching is thin," he said, "watch out." And we ended up losing by 4. They came back over they had a monster 8th inning and took care of business. So I think it was a 13-run 8th inning for San Rafael. And that's when I quickly learned that this is a whole different brand of baseball, which made it exciting.
I'm drawing a little bit of a blank on the specifics for this year, but Bruce will remember this score. And I asked Todd Everleth, the manager in North Platte, about it last year, if it was really true. The North Platte 80s were playing in Santa Fe in 2024 and had a 15-run lead and lost the game 26-25. True story.
Yep. Shades of that Cubs game that you see come up on YouTube every once in a while, that wild one. I'll step aside. Go ahead.
We actually had my one of our games, the final score was 31-4. We were on the losing end, but it was, the thing was even though the game's out of reach, the fans were still absolutely loving it because they loved that entertainment of runs and home runs. And we might not have had the high altitude out there in California as much, but definitely smaller fields play into it. We were 310 down the left field line, 330 in center, and 360 actually to right field. But with a steady wind, we're right under the bay there, steady wind blowing out. So it was exciting. Lots of offense. I remember the coaching staff. You never felt like the game was out of reach, or you never felt comfortable. But man, it was a lot of fun to be a part of. That's for sure.
Bruce, I'll just interject. We'll be talking about some of the players in a little bit. And I was the bullpen coach and spent a lot of time with pitchers. And you have a lot of guys who were very successful in college, and they're expecting to have the same effectiveness in the Pecos League. And one of the phrases that I used a few times, first of all, is your job is to keep us in the game. So even if they didn't pitch that well and we were within a run or two, they did their job. And I had to emphasize more than once, it's your relative performance, not your absolute performance, that matters. And it does take a little bit of adjustment for the pitchers, especially because they're the ones that are standing out there on the mound watching the ball fly out of the park. And if they're having a hard time with the umpires, it makes it worse. So, I mean, Andy's right. The fans have a good time, and it's exciting, and the games are never over. But I think the pitchers bear the brunt of the psychological impact.
So true. So true. Keep on going, man. I'm just going to step aside.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Slide. Yeah.
Please.
Next slide.
Okay, another unique aspect of the Pecos League, other aspects, that most teams are owned by the league. Road travel for many teams is by personal vehicle. I think the Casey Iola team had vans from the Garden City, from the Allen County Community College. I think Alpine had a bus. But most players are driving their own cars. Players do not sign contracts, and baseball experts will remember the 2018 Saving America's Pastime Act that required the minor leagues to pay minimum wage. Well, the Pecos League can't afford to pay minimum wage for all the hours of its players, so players do not have contracts. They get a stipend that's funded by raffles, youth baseball camps, and fundraising. In North Platte, the final tally of the white envelopes that were given out to players at the end of every homestand, each player received about $800 over the course of the season. I don't know, Andy, how did it work out there in Martinez?
Yeah, very similar. Tons of in-game raffles, raffling off broken bats. They would pass the sturgeon for home runs, which was awesome. For striking out the side, they passed the sturgeon. And, there were some very generous people in Martinez. They loved their baseball. The Joe DiMaggio field at Waterfront Park. We probably got about between 300 and 400, which was basically a sellout. So it always looked packed. And they treated the players fantastic. I, of course, made nothing. But I was so happy to see a bunch of, young guys, getting paid a little bit extra. Like it was it made hitting a home run even sweeter, which we always paid attention to if that wind was blowing out fast or not.
Andy, Bruce, let's just take a quick detour. I'm not sure Andy really explained how he got to Martinez, and he's a little older than most of the players. He's way younger than me. And Andy wasn't in a lot of games. So Andy, maybe you can explain how you ended up
I like it.
with the Sturgeon.
Yeah. After I had said about, seeing a flyer or some sort of poster in Roswell, and when I looked into it, I actually sent in about October of last year, I sent an email to not every team in the league, the ones that I thought if I was going to do something crazy, because I have a wife, I have 2 teenage daughters. I'm 39. And I was like, the ones that would make some sort of sense for me that I could sell to myself to spend some time away from my family. And, I sent out a few, including Martinez, and I didn't hear back at all, which was kind of, what I expected. It was a shot in the dark, and it was about early May, and I got a one-line email from the GM of the Sturgeon, who just said I forwarded information to the manager, and he's going to reach out. And Matthew Replinger, it was interesting when I looked him up. In my excitement, I saw that he was a former chapter leader in the Denver SABR community, and he wrote the book on baseball history in the city of Denver. And I said, if this is going to happen, it's going to be with Matthew. And we just had some great conversations. And he said, listen, I would love to have you on the coaching staff. We're looking for basically like a pregame coordinator, someone who would throw the batting practice and work with the guys, fungos and things like that. And, I said I had to, talk it over. I wasn't 100% sure, but when my wife saw me after the conversation, she said, of course you got to do this. This is a no-brainer.
Well, Andy, you also need to mention that you had a job.
Yeah, I'm, and very fortunate that my wife and I were both high school teachers. We teach at the same high school. I actually want to thank you for making this tonight, because I got permission to miss out on half of my parent-teacher conferences, so that was awesome.
You're welcome.
Yep, I certainly did appreciate that. But yeah, that's the only reason why this would work, because my wife and I have that time off in the summer. And we actually were planning on going to California for our 40th state anyway. So this kind of it was a perfect situation. And, that's so when I called Matthew back, I said, I'll do it. I had no idea what that actually meant, but I was excited for the opportunity. And at that moment, I didn't know. I thought I was just going to be a member of the coaching staff. I wasn't aware that I would be having an opportunity to get on the field. But, once I got out there, he said that there's a chance. And I said, hey, it doesn't matter what it is, I would jump at it. So it was just a very fortunate situation, because I don't know if it was anywhere else I would have said yes. But Martinez just worked perfectly.
Well, also, Andy, didn't you also have to get permission to report late?
Yes. So my school year ends in mid-June in Rhode Island, and the Pecos League starts the last week of May.
Right.
So I had said to him, I said, listen, I really hope you don't mind. I should have led with this, but I wanted to see his answer first. But he said, absolutely. As you know, I think the coaching staffs out there can be light. So he was very excited to have someone out there, especially, I was more the hands-on. My background is I've been a high school coach for about 15 years. I stopped recently because my daughters have many activities in sports. And I think he's more of a traditional manager, like a professional manager, when I'm more of a hands-on coach. So it just worked perfectly. But I didn't know when I flew out there, I had no idea about my livings. I thought I might be sleeping on a floor for a few months. I had no idea until right before the end of my first game that I actually had a place to stay. So it was just exciting. And I hadn't played baseball in about 15 years, but I was happy to get that opportunity.
So yeah, I just want to mention a couple of things as it relates to the players. I was also a scout, Bruce, as you know, and
Yep.
I scouted a pitcher who was pretty good at Fisher College in the NAIA. They play fairly competitive level of baseball, and I was all excited to sign this pitcher until I was still excited to sign him, but I was a little discouraged when I found out that he was in the master's program, and he was on the baseball team, and he could not finish his program remotely, and he wasn't able to join us until the beginning of July. So, because the season starts at the end of May and runs till the end of July. But as Andy points out, the managers aren't paid much. I didn't get paid as a coach, and so it's really the kind of a league where if you have a dream as a player, because the pay isn't that high, or a coach, it's a great way to get your start, or in a midlife like Andy, get an opportunity you wouldn't otherwise have, or me, live a dream that you didn't know was going to come true.
And that's why this league is so unique. I mean, heck, I may even have a shot with the junk that I can throw
Yeah.
to get out there and get an inning in and get in Baseball Reference myself.
There you go.
Okay, we're ready for next slide, please. And there it is, part 3, the baseball website for the Pecos League. It's a destination for rising stars, falling stars, shooting stars, and athletes with stars in their eyes.
I love that.
Next slide, please. And there are your 2025 shooting stars.
Hang on, shooting stars?
Well, we're not rising.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the brightest stars, that's for sure.
Anyway, I do want to make a note there. I think that my baseball card on the right may be the only baseball card I've seen. Maybe other baseball card experts can weigh in, where the coach's reading glasses are visible. So that may be a first. Next slide, please. Okay. Here we are, Andy. I don't know who's gonna. We've heard a lot of this, Andy. I think that the thing that we probably haven't heard here is your 2008 career highlight. That everyone knows about the Beanpot Hockey Championship in Boston every year. It's one of the most intense hockey rivalries there are. Except the one problem is that when they want to do the baseball Beanpot, BU didn't have a baseball team. So UMass gratefully joined the Beanpot. Andy, why don't you talk about that sacrifice bunt that helped BC? I'm sorry, I said UMass. BC.
No, yeah.
Sorry. UMass was there. No, UMass over Boston. My bad.
I got to be, I played 4 years at UMass. I was on the team. I didn't see the field too much until my senior year. My freshman year actually is probably my individual highlight. As an 18-year-old at Fenway Park, against Boston College, ironically, I hit a ball 3/4 of the way up the Green Monster, and it rattled around the ladder. My dad has it on video. I haven't watched it in about 15 years, but individually, that was probably my crowning achievement as a ball player. And fast forward to 2008, we're playing Boston College again, and our pitcher from Malden, Mass, right outside of Boston, actually had a no-hitter against Boston College going into the 9th inning, and we were able to hold on. But when we were up 3-0, I did have a monster sacrifice punt that enabled us to score that 4th run that ended up being the game-winning. But had a great time at UMass. Actually had an opportunity afterwards to play professionally over in Germany, in the Bundesliga, I think that is how you pronounce it, league. But I actually got married to my wife instead and didn't want to spend a year away in Germany, my first year as a married man. So thought my playing career was over. I think I played in a local amateur league for a game or two, but just wasn't for me. I decided to get into coaching. I coached a variety of different sports there, and also wrote a few books. But I will tell you, seeing a fastball come in after 15 years of not seeing any pitching whatsoever, it was an experience, that's for sure. But so that's a little bit about my background there.
Okay, I think we can go to the next one. And there's a lot of zeros here in my background, except for that infinity ERA. We mentioned the Pupfish and the Austin Weirdos. Um, I do have an 0.0000333 slash line, along with a 1,000 fielding percentage. So that was really exciting pitching at age 67. The Austin Weirdos at that time in 2023, they were a team in the Pecos League that lost their home field and became an all-road team. And the commissioner put me on the Weirdos to pitch in the last series of the season. And when they arrived at Alpine, Texas, they only had 11 players. And they actually needed a starting pitcher for a game on Friday night. And he needed some innings out of me. And the manager, Derek Dominguez, who co-managed Casey Iola, kept me out there till the fifth inning. And somehow I was able to hold the Alpine Cowboys that had an OPS of over 1,000 to 12 earned runs in 4+ innings. My baseball coaching career I was at Manchester Essex High School from 21 to 23, north of Boston, up near Gloucester and Rockport. We were the 2022 Division IV state champs. There's my Roswell and North Platte record in North Platte last summer. We won the first round of the playoffs against Blackwell, a very stirring walk-off win to win the first round, and then we lost to Garden City, who made it to the finals against Tucson and lost. And then, like Andy, I've written some SABR biographies and game stories and have a baseball media page. Next slide, please. Okay, here's a little photo album for everybody.
Yeah, that's a typical night out there in Martinez. A lot of those guys, like I was obviously an old man to all these young guys, but this is very typical. Just a great group of guys. They had a little bit of fun off the field, a little more than I certainly wanted. But a bunch of guys were just like having, being together, knowing that the Pecos League is something different than the rest. I think it kind of unites them. But just a great group of young men.
Okay, and then we have the next slide. There's the North Platte 80s, complete with our mascot, and I'm having a senior moment. The mascot's name is escaping me, unfortunately, but there's our team right there. Next slide, please. Here you go, Andy.
Yeah, the local community, that's 4th of July. I had said about Martinez, birthplace of Joe DiMaggio, and they absolutely love their baseball. It's a beautiful city right on the bay, probably about 45 minutes outside of San Francisco. And, within that city, they loved the Sturgeon. We were the number one ticket during that parade there, and they treated us so nice. So that's just a great image of a nice day there on the 4th of July, but also it just, how that city stands behind their Sturgeon. So really is an excellent place to play.
Okay, we got the Nebraska equivalent, the Nebraska Land Parade. This is in North Platte, and the parade route was several miles long. We were on there, and one of the ironic things is we had games during Nebraska Land. It was very hard to get fans to come to the games. I mean, the rodeo is huge out there. And I don't know if this is true or not, but it sounded right. They get like over 100,000 people going to the rodeo over a couple of weeks. And it's just really part of the culture. And despite there being a lot of big baseball fans out there, Nebraska Land really takes charge for a couple of weeks in June. But we had a float, and we were able to generate a little bit of interest. We gave out some coupons and got our name out there. It was only the second year in North Platte, so we're still in the growth phase out there. You got a couple more, Bruce, I think.
If I recall correctly, while I'm thinking of it, wasn't the mascot named Hobie Hood?
Oh God.
I think the mascot was named Hobie Hood.
No, I'm gonna have to think about it.
There's
Drawing a
Andy.
blank.
Yep, there's
But here
my
he is. Here is Andy's moment.
yeah, that's my and that was actually you know I certainly didn't draw up making a professional debut 17 years after I graduated college, but I couldn't ask for a better way to do it. This actually wasn't my debut. This is my third and final game, but my wife and daughters were there. It was the very last game of the season, and about 5 minutes before the game, Skip, the manager, says, "Hey, when was the last time you played right field?" I said, "I think about 20 years ago." He goes, "Well, you're going to start today and bat fifth." Both our team and the team we were playing had already clinched a playoff berth, and we were playing each other 2 days later. So both managers said, "Hey, we're going to rest some guys." And after I flew out my first at bat, I popped up my second, and in front of my wife and kids, they're cheering on. I hit a RBI ground ball single right up the middle, and it was better than any. It was just an amazing moment. I was actually cool to my two teenage daughters, so for a short bit, for a short. No, but I mean, it diminished after the game, of course. But yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
You get the game ball?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
it was like I think I was like the lovable loser. The guys really wanted me to play. Um, my first at bat I was against Manny Corpus. I think maybe our only former major league player in the league, and um, I got into one other game where I walked, and the guys really wanted me to play. So they were so excited. They gave me the big scorecard. And they got me the ball, and they pulled for me. So it was, I felt like the lovable loser, but I was extremely happy to play that role.
That's great.
That's a great story.
Hey, another an action photo coming up.
Next slide. There we go.
Oh,
There I am, keeping the game log out there in the bullpen. Kept it for every single game, so I knew what was going on. Took notes if I needed to talk to Todd or talk to any of the pitchers. So I just kept track, and there I am out in the bullpen in the right field of Bill Wood Field. We played at Bill Wood Field, which was opened in 1956. Was home to the North Platte Indians. It was a short season A league at the time, 6 teams in Nebraska, the Nebraska State League. Any of you that have read the book by Pat Jordan, A False Spring, he dedicated a chapter of the book to a season to playing in McCook, which was about an hour and a half south of North Platte. Phil Necro pitched off that mound in North Platte, and Jim Perry and I believe Jim Cott also pitched there. We play at the same place that the North Platte Indians played from 1956 to 1959. Okay, just two more.
Yeah, this is I chose this image. This is Monterey, a beautiful city, and it was just speaking with Evan last time, just the extreme difference between the Pacific and the Mountain Division. Right over those trees right there, a few hundred yards is the Pacific Ocean. We got to hang out before the game there, and this was a lot of many of the places we played at were just like this, and I thought this was just an excellent baseball environment.
Yeah, to go from the ocean, as Andy said, to the mountains for the last one. This is one of my favorite pictures. This is Central Park in Trinidad, Colorado. That's Fisher's Peak. Down the right field line, it's about 9,000 feet. If you go around it to the right in that picture, there's a road that goes into New Mexico. Trinidad is, I mentioned, about 6,000 feet. It's in the mountains, and almost every day the clouds build up, and then depending upon how intense the buildup is, there'll be rain. And I also want to make note, you can't see it there. If anyone listens to any of the podcasts that we're talking about Trinidad, there's a train track there. And every night at 6:49, the Southwest Chief, the Amtrak train passes through to the train station at Trinidad going from Los Angeles to Chicago. We looked it up, and it was a supporting part of our podcast talking about the Southwest Chief. In fact, one night it was late, and I looked it up on the Amtrak app when I got home, and sure enough, they were reporting we're about an hour behind schedule. But Central Park in Trinidad, one of the most beautiful places to play. Ironically, it was only about 350 or 360 to center field, but what happened at the end of the day, the humidity builds up. It doesn't play like a really small park, even though physically it is. Okay, so that's the formal part of the presentation, Bruce. I don't know where you want to take it from here. You want to open it up to questions or comments or?
So we wound up getting together a couple of years ago on this podcast because I snowed you into believing that I actually know what I'm doing. And one of the things that we found over the 2 years that we did the pod was it connected a lot of fans, players, host families, and families of the players that weren't even in the area. You've mentioned to me that there were a few families that found the podcast and started listening to it to kind of keep up on the league. Can you relate any stories of families that our podcast touched?
Oh, there was one that we had, Ryan Lutinsky.
Ryan Lutinsky.
Great. He was the MVP in North Platte and actually got the game-winning hit over Blackwell. Here's a kid in college. He hit okay. He played in the Pecos League in 2024, hit 280, 300, home run, whatever. And he went last winter to recalibrate his swing. And he turned from a steady utility player into the team's best hitter, pinch hitter, home runs, game-tying home run in Garden City. He went and was in the home run derby and at the All-Star game in Garden City. And I thought he'd be a really good guest. And he talked about his college background and reworking his swing and talked about swing angles and how much time the bat stays in the hitting zone. It was very technical. And I mean, and he became a 400 hitter with big power and very reliable. But the funny story was I ended up bumping into his father, who heard his son interviewed in the podcast. And he said to me, "Evan, he never talks like that at home." And I think it was just fun to hear from players. In fact, we actually interviewed Pierce Salbago,
yep,
who was from Illinois, and he was named to the All-Star team. Unfortunately, he couldn't pitch for the Mountain North when we had the game in Garden City. And his dad had come to join him. And I thought it would be really a little different. And we don't normally we'd have single guests on, but I said, what about having a father and son on the podcast? And so we was able to have Pierce talk about his progression in baseball from high school in Illinois to Suffolk University in Boston, where they play their games on a field at Logan Airport, if you can believe it. But then also hearing his father talk about his progression and how they stayed in touch with him and how he saw him progress. And that was really a good interview. And the last one I thought that was pretty good was Joe Barron's a pitcher and Sean Bennett, a catcher from Michigan. I wanted to get a pitcher and catcher talking together. So there's a lot of below the radar stories going on that we tried to bring forward in the podcast. And as I said to Bruce as we were getting ready for this show, I said, I think we have one organic fan who came up to me in Blackwell and said she liked the podcast. And I think the rest of our fans were the parents of the players.
We know our audience. Hey, if you've got a question for our presenters, Evan Katz and Andrew Tuetken tonight, you know what to do. Go down to the bottom of the screen and hit the react button. You'll see another button marked raise hand. Doug Rubin, that means you, because you had a question in the chat that I want to get out there. So if you can get your hand up, because I'm going to go to Dixie first, because he had his hand up. So, Dix, you're on, my dude. Ask your question.
Okay, everything about this league seems a little bit chaotic, including
Yes.
the amount of runs scored. I'm wondering
Yes.
who is there to keep order? Tell us about the umpires. Where do you get them? What are they? How are they compensated and stuff like that?
The league has a couple of umpires, in fact, amazingly enough. They were interviewed by Bruce and I in
Right.
one of our later podcasts. There are local umpires in Garden City. There are league umpires that travel. They're mostly local umpires, and it can get a little chaotic, Dixie. You're right. The umpires are there to keep order, but there's things get a little chaotic, but it always manages to stay under control. It's there's enough mutual respect for the umpires. And the other thing is that the teams play each other a lot. We played Blackwell 14 or 15 times. Andy, you played each of those your teams over a dozen times. So everybody knows everybody. So uh, and they want the league to keep going. So it sometimes the stuff does kind of get to the edge a little bit, but it always seems to wind down at the right time.
Are
Yeah,
there
just
Is that
are
what you
there
say?
two
What would you
umpires?
think? What do you
Are there
think,
two
Andy?
umpires per game?
Two,
yes, two
sometimes
umpires.
three.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
how,
and I
go
was
ahead, Andy. I was going to have you speak. Yeah.
yeah in the West and the Pacific Division was very similar. We all built rapport with the umpires. We had the same ones over and over again, and you recognize what most players are trying to get out of it. Most of the guys who are playing in it view it as a stepping stone, and sometimes that can some of their maybe their passion takes over a little bit, but there is that mutual respect. We did build some good relationships with them, and yeah, I wasn't aware of the traveling ones that Evan was saying, but no major issues.
Doug Rubin had a great question in the chat. I want to get him going here. Doug, how you doing this evening?
I'm great. This is so interesting. This is truly for the love of the game, not a Kevin
Spot
Costner
on.
movie. Um, so you get paid, and I see the tickets cost like $10 general admission. I've been to some college, whatever they call them, the college development leagues where you pay, but the players don't get paid, or they get a stipend, really. They get a stipend a little bit. They get room and board. So, I mean, you all get paid, right? I mean, a little bit, but you say there's no contracts. Is it a professional league, or are you mostly playing because it's fun, or do people, really get signed by like a bigger independent, or even get maybe a single A, double A contract? I mean, how does it work in terms of the economics of who owns you said the league owns the team. So I don't know if maybe you could
I mean,
explain that a little bit.
couple of angles to that. I think there have been 9 players that have played in the Pecos League. They've made it to the majors. They're all pitchers, not surprisingly. We had 2 players that got promoted. Ben Smith, a pitcher from Worcester State, was signed to Billings, Montana. The goal for the Pecos League players, for the guys who are really trying to get established, is a lot of Division III players, some Division II, some NAIA. It is really, as Bruce described, it's baseball's entry level, and you want to get signed by a partner league. We had another pitcher, Eddie Cafton, went to a Mitchell College in Connecticut. He pitched for the Joliet Slammers the last weekend of the season. I think both Ben Smith and Eddie Cafton will probably get invited to spring training next year. So the goal is to get signed by a partner league team, and a number of guys move up. Probably between 30 to 40 guys move up either to a partner league. Some have gone to Baseball United over in Saudi Arabia, I believe. Some play overseas after. So it's really the entry level for professional baseball, and it gives an opportunity for players that don't want to give up playing baseball and just see how far they can go. I don't know, Andy, similar
So when you
experience for
say
you?
partner league, do you mean like Frontier or Atlantic?
Those four: Frontier, Pioneer, Atlantic, and American Association.
Got it.
Yeah, just to clarify for people that may not know. So Major League Baseball has an official affiliation with those four leagues. That's where they're doing all the experimental stuff, the crazy stuff like the uh, pinch runner,
Moving the mound back.
moving the
16
mound back, all the
like
crazy stuff. They need a place to try that out. So the goal is the partner league from the Pecos.
Yeah, and same thing. I was actually amazed at how many of our, especially pitchers, had played in those big four partner leagues. We had one guy who had played. He's from Japan. He played professionally in Japan. We had a few Mexican league, which I guess is the equivalent is around the AA level. Two guys that had played in the Angel system, one in the Red Sox system, who were only 21, but they came straight from Venezuela. So this was like their last chance to get seen again. And I like to think of it, and I had no idea going in, and talking to some of those guys that had played at the higher levels in those big four independent leagues, there isn't a big the top tier guys and the lower tier guys, they're very close to each other. In the Pecos League, there's the top tier guys, and then there's guys that are way below those top tier guys. So there's just a big gap of talent compared to those big four leagues. So you get some really good guys, and then you'll have we had a few, especially pitchers, because a lot of the guys we have who have played at the higher levels, or we had four guys from Martinez get signed after our season ended to go play in those leagues. They're relief pitchers, so you need innings. So we had a few guys, honestly, that were probably would have been like decent Division III pitchers, not anything special, but you just need guys to throw innings. So there's just a big divide. Big gap between the top tier and the lower tier.
That's
I'm just running
part
the
of the demand
numbers.
is in the pitching. You play many days in a row. It's really like old time minor league baseball. You could play 10 games in a row, and so you really need arms that can give you innings.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if you have 200 people attending, 250, $10 a ticket, $2,000, you're paying the umpire, you're paying the leagues, you're paying travel. I don't know. I guess the league, whoever is running that league loves the game too. That's all I could say.
I mean, it's right. But the gate revenue goes to the league. The league pays the umpires. The league pays for the hotels, and then the players have host families. So that takes care of accommodations at home, and then you get the stipend to kind of cover expenses. But most players, but every player will essentially pay to play ultimately over the course.
Thank you. It's really interesting.
The fine editor of the Elysian Fields newsletter, the 11th Street Eagle, is here. Craig Garrettson, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for this presentation. This reminds me a lot of the Portland Mavericks baseball team and the Battered Bastards of Baseball documentary of these guys who were either too old or too young or didn't have experience and are all on this team and trying to play. The interesting thing about that league was that one team was kind of the odds and ends team, and then all the other teams were affiliated minor league teams that had actual 18-year-old guys who were drafted playing on them. So for better or for worse, they were playing against these 25, 30-year-old guys who have been told this is your last shot. But I'm wondering, has there been any, or would there be any kind of Savannah Bananas type of hijinks going on in this league?
In terms of entertainment?
Yeah, in terms of guys, flipping before they make the catch, or any of those things where you're really not doing what you'd see at Yankee Stadium.
No, it's a professional league, professional baseball, and it's not to say that weird stuff doesn't happen, but it's usually unintentional or the result of some weird confluence of events. I mean, it's it's been, I mean, the Pecos League stats were kept in Baseball Reference through 2017.
Yeah.
And according to the back and forth that I had when I found out that I'm a Pecos League fan for all that time, they said the quality of play just didn't quite measure up to their standards, so it's no longer there. But it's considered professional baseball. It's independent baseball. I mean, you've got United Shore League in Michigan. It's a hub league. They have a pipeline to the partner leagues. You've got the Empire League in upstate New York, which is a pipeline to the Frontier League. You got the Mavericks Independent League in Portland that are kind of similar to the Pecos League, except the pitch that I gave players who may be trying to decide what the best place was. When I was scouting them and talking to them on the phone, and last winter, about a year ago, I'd say, if you really want to play baseball and see what it's like and play every day and travel and see what it brings out in you and also meet those challenges, the Pecos League is the place to be. And because it really does resemble minor league baseball, for all of its joys and frustrations.
Speaking of the Frontier League, there's a manager named Bert Gonzalez out here who kind of maintains a database of guys he's seen, guys who have tried out who didn't make it, because he'll say that they'll go to a game and all of a sudden we only have one catcher, or two of the pitchers have the flu or whatever, and he'll bring in these guys at the last minute. I don't know if you guys do anything like that. Like, do you ever have just being a youth coach? I've had the situation many times where I show up with 8 girls instead of 12. Do you have situations like that with guys driving themselves to the park and all that stuff where you've got to scramble to fill a roster?
Andy, what do you have?
And that's actually the only way I found my way on the field. I was basically like the emergency goalie in hockey.
Yeah.
I was able-bodied. I did everything with the players, and my hand speed was still there. I just don't move like a 22-year-old, but it was that with that mindset, like, he said, you're the guy that if we ever need to have the roster filled, we're going to put you on the active roster for that day. So, there were times like that. Like I said, we carried pitchers that wouldn't pitch for 12 straight days, but it was always that, hey, we might need you, and we had an injury. We made a few trades, which actually helped me get into a game because the guys didn't get to the stadium on time. So, there's always those, like, if needed guys.
The Empire League, before it became a hub league, they actually had a team in Concord, New Hampshire. The New Hampshire Wild, they called them. So for what it's worth, I can prove that this league is a partner league. This was a gift that Evan gave me after we completed our podcast, my official Pecos League ball, and that's the real deal, folks. That's right. That's the real deal from Rawlings. It's great stuff. I really appreciated this. So, any last raps from Evan or Andrew on the Pecos League?
I'll just say, the league has a rhythm like all the other leagues. In the beginning of the year, we're trying to get more guys to camp than you have spots, which is hard. You're trying to convince guys to come out and play for a place where you're going to make less than $1,000 and drive around all summer, and that's always a challenge. And then filling out rosters. I mean, when someone made a comment about players that have played affiliated ball, there's a number of international free agents who were signed at 16 and 17 and came up with professional teams. We're getting emails from people all the time about a guy who's released by Tampa, released by the Cubs. Andy, I'm sure you had guys on your team. So, because those guys started 16, 17 years old, and if they can't get the ball over the plate and they're not effective, there's 2021, they still want to play. So
Yeah.
it's really, there's the domestic guys, the U.S. guys coming out of college, and the international guys who are hoping for their last chance to play professional baseball and get back in the Pecos League, and then maybe get to the partner league, and then get signed to an affiliated contract again.
Great discussion, guys. I just need to know, while I got both of you here, which one are both of you in to continue the podcast in 26?
Well, I'll let Evan take the lead on that one.
I don't know. We're gonna have to have a winter meeting in Concord, New Hampshire to discuss that one, Bruce.
There you
go. The balmy confines of Concord, New Hampshire, where it was about 20 degrees with a wind whipping right down Main Street today, made me regret my life choices for a few minutes. Moving up. Hey, before we let this one go, Andy, remind us of the book you wrote.
Oh,
McCoy's
Murals of McCoy. Yeah. If anyone's ever been to McCoy Stadium, well, what was McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, AAA for the Red Sox before they moved to Worcester. There were 45 hand-painted murals and 95 altogether, because they had some prints in the 2000s that hung on, in the concourses as you walked in. And that was my favorite part of the ballpark forever.
Yeah.
I used to love having my dad tell me stories about all those players. And I did the same with my daughters until they moved. And it has all 95 of those in there. And a little bit of has all the rundown. It's basically a history book of the Pawtucket Red Sox, but based off of those 95 murals, which I now have 3 of those hand painted ones in my house. So,
which ones?
I have the digital, the 3x6 foot Tim Nearing digital, but then the hand painted ones, which with the frame hit 9 feet. They're about 5x9. I have Rich Gedman. I have Jeff Suppan, and I have Ken Ryan. And I chose if the book has them in there, that those all have special meaning to me. So I was so thrilled to get them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh boy, I don't want to be a part of your household, Andy, when it comes time to downsize.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, you're correct. One of them sits. We watch TV every day. Rich Gedman's looking at us. I got that one. That was my wife's favorite one. She grew up as a Paw Sox fan, and she loved it so much. When I got it, she said, "Hey, we got to put that in the family room." So it just stares at us every day.
So I do a little bit of shameless self-promotion. If anyone here has not had enough of the Pecos League, you can go to my website, Baseball by the Sea Media, and get free access to all 24 episodes for 24 and 25. And there's some good ones. We interviewed a young man who came over from Japan to come here to go to college, and was the manager of the Blackwell Flycatchers. That was a fascinating interview. And the Ryan Lutinsky one is good. The one with Pierce Salbago is good. Also, if you have read Fall Spring by Pat Jordan, early in the year, we were supposed to play a game in McCook due to a scheduling problem. And I had talked to Pat a couple times. I tracked him down about 5 years ago. And we actually interviewed Pat Jordan for that podcast.
He was great. He was great.
He talked about playing in the Nebraska State League in 1959. That's in episode 3 for 2025. And it was an incredible interview. A look back at baseball in 1959. He was signed as a bonus baby out of high school in Fairfield, Connecticut, and went to a tryout at Braves Field, Milwaukee Braves Field. They signed him. They put him on a puddle jumper to fly from Milwaukee out to North Platte in 1959. And then he had to take a taxi cab 70 miles from North Platte down to McCook. You can hear all about that in the podcast.
Yeah, he was great. All right, I'm gonna put it out there right now. I'm gonna declare it right here on this show tonight. 2026, baseball's last frontier stories from the Pecos League. This it's gonna star Evan and Andy.
Okay.
It's happening. This is happening. It is.
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance. There you go.
Right.
For more information on the Pecos League, check out their website at pecosleague.com. You can catch all the action in 2026 at pecosleague.tv as well. We are back Monday, November 24th with Paul Jackson and his presentation, A Haunted Player, the Impact of Stigma and Superstition on the Career of a Dead Ball Catcher. The sign-up link is available in the chapter meeting booklet and at the SABR events calendar. And finally, if you are a baseball fan watching on YouTube and you like what you see, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to be alerted to each of our weekly uploads. And if you're not yet a member, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community, offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom. SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world, like Evan and Andy. For more information, go to sabr.org today. Hey guys, you're awesome. Thanks for doing this for me.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Appreciate
everybody
you
for
guys
attending.
a lot. Thanks a lot. We're going to catch everybody Monday night. Have a great night, folks.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.